My name is Nadim Nahas. I am one of the senior consultants within the Franken Copy Middle East office. So pleased to be with you in the coming hour or so, talking about engagement, motivation, and remote working. I'm just going to exactly give it another 1 or 2 minutes. I can see that participants, are signing in. Exactly 2 minutes, just allowing, if you don't mind, apologies for that, just because we have good number registered for today's webinar. So 2 minutes, and I will start with, I'll proceed with the webinar. Okay, thank you again for waiting. First of all, I wish really that everyone is, safe, and, you and your families, your loved ones, you're taken care of, and you're accustomed with this new norm, as we call it, facing this critical situation, the COVID-19. During this unprecedented current global situation, and despite everything you've been doing, you and your team, it's likely, or you may feel less productive and time is not utilized efficiently. This is what we've been hearing in our discussions globally, and therefore, this is again something unusual. Things that we relied on are taken away, and our working environment have fundamentally changed. Now, the demand on our time is increasing. It's almost every day, every second, from everywhere. And therefore, keeping focused, keeping positive, therefore keeping productive can be a huge challenge. So therefore, this webinar, I will be taking you through this toolkit of resources. And this toolkit, really, we will be sharing the full toolkit with all of you after this webinar. It's useful. I'll be highlighting some key insights. I will be sharing with you some key points as well. And it's been designed to enable you and your team to work together, stay productive, and take individual ownership for all your outputs. Let me start, before I dig into the main topic, let me just clear some logistics out of the way. Everyone is on mute, but please make sure that you're muted all times, just to make sure that, the connection is clear for everyone joining this webinar. At the same time, if you have any notes, if you are facing any technical stuff, also use the chat box. Just write your notes in the chat box at the side of the screen. Keep handy a pen and paper. Yes, we'll be sharing this toolkit with you, but I know someone, you might be that kind of person, you would like to take your own notes, so please keep that handy. This webcast will be for 45-50 minutes, and it's recorded. Therefore, we will be sharing the recording of the full webinar with all of you after today's session. And please, if you have anything, just write down on the chat box. Me and my colleagues will be able to attend to that momentarily. Now, as Franken Covey, all what we've been doing all around the world in the last 30 years, it's around enhancing performance. And everything we do in Franken-Covey, it's all about, so we do that through changing behavior to get these results. And I'm sure as leaders, all of you, you agree with me that that's why we're hired, to achieve results. Now, when we do that, it becomes what we call it, the behavior, the collective behavior of the organization. We call it culture. And I'm sure you are familiar with this word. We use it a lot. So culture to us, we say it's the collective behavior of the people in the same organization. Now, we as leaders influence that directly. And what we value gets valued. Therefore, the winning culture that we influence directly, it becomes our competitive advantage. Now, competitors, they might copy almost anything from your organization, maybe including strategy, products, systems, how you do business, everything. However, they cannot copy the effectiveness of your people. So therefore, we as leaders, when we influence culture this way, it becomes that ultimate distinctive factor, and our people's character is the key to that. Now, to achieve a winning culture, it requires, we say, we identified 4 measurable outcomes. The first one, we say it's distinctive contribution, the kind of contribution that as an organization, this is why we exist. Our contribution to the society, to everyone around us. Our employees are engaged. Therefore, they are committed and they just volunteer everything to the organization. We have loyal customers. Our customers are loyal and they choose to promote our services, again, because of the way we behave with them. And then finally, the last outcome would be we have sustainability on our key metrics over time. We achieve the results. Now, these are 4 outcomes, and in order for us to achieve them, it requires 2 main levers working together. The first one is basically we want to make sure we have systems and processes in place so to focus everyone on executing on the strategy, and the whole organization, are directed the focus towards the highest priority of the organization. So that's the main first lever. Now, the second lever is capabilities. And here, capabilities, it's linked to the kind of great leaders we have in the organizations and the effective individuals we have. Now, this might be a little bit, how people interact can be a little bit different from one organization to the other. But it's all about, we as leaders, it's all about, we need to make sure, in order to build or to influence this winning culture, it's all about, keep asking ourselves, do my employees work on what really matters? And this is where something I influence directly as a leader. Do they get energy and job satisfaction? Do they successfully complete projects? And do they work effectively together? Now, more than ever, these questions are more valid today facing this situation than before, because simply put, our employees are working remotely, so you don't have them in front of you so you can see and check on them. Therefore, we need to do whatever it takes to give our employees the leader they aspire to look up to. Therefore, this is where they would like to work for us all the time. This is where we will be the kind of leaders that would increase confidence and trust. And we ensure that they achieve their goals and we're utilizing their talents. Now, to be able to achieve all these outcomes, to build this winning culture, to utilize the systems, the processes, and to capitalize on these capabilities, it's all about, that's why change in behavior is almost must, is foundational. so we can, guarantee results today and sustainable results into the future. Now, therefore, the end in mind from this webinar today, it's all about enabling you and your team to work together, keep motivated, and deliver results in these difficult times. We at Franklin Covey, along the years, not even before this situation, we've done extensive, work around the globe with extensive and progressive experience when it comes to learning and learning journeys, whether face-to-face or online. So that's why this toolkit is one of so many tools and so many solutions that hopefully it will be beneficial for you and your teams to help you to achieve this end in mind. Now, let me, I like this quote, because this is the crisis we face today. And it's all about we as leaders, we want to make sure to never let the goodness, the positive things out of this situation to go to waste, because I am sure you're capitalizing on a lot of learning out of these situations, whether about people or about the processes or about the systems that we may have. So it's all about focusing on these positives after we pass, and we will pass this crisis together. So therefore, the agenda, the four topics, the four main segments I will be talking about today. The first one is about remote working, a little bit of, sharing some best practices for leading remote workers. The second one, it's all about our paradigms, and I'll explain what do we mean by paradigms, how we as leaders, how are we seeing this situation, how our teams are seeing this situation as well. The third, basically, segment will be influence. What areas can we influence? What within our control? What's outside our control? And finally, the kind of energy levels that we want to make sure to keep, so we can just influence these outcomes that I talked about. So let me start with the first one, remote working. As I said, it's uncommon for us to worry about managing remote workers, especially without seeing them in the office every day. And, when we do that, when we are trying to lead them remotely, it's much easier for us to start making assumptions. Now, actually, research shows us that remote workers often keep longer hours and are more productive than in office workers. I'm sure some of you read or you've been exposed to something like this. And therefore, as leaders, we may, or too often, we might equate low face time with low work output at some point. So how can we capitalize? How can we utilize this to our advantage? Let me share with you some tips. The first one, we want to make sure to focus our remote workers and to focus on what they accomplished, not on whether you can see them accomplishing it. This is one important point. The second one, it's all about, building trust with your remote workers during this time. And we do that through the one-on-ones. So get in contact with them one-on-one. And we always say, take the first minutes just to get in touch with them personally, inquire about non-work issues, ask them for feedback on how you can communicate better. Just again, connect on that emotional level. So at that human level, then work will come absolutely in progress. The third tip would be, our remote workers cannot just simply give you feedback. Again, they're not working, you don't see them. So it's not about for them dropping and giving you some feedback. So make sure to clarify your performance expectations frequently with them during these one-on-ones. It depends on your industry. It depends on the size of your team. It can be once a week. It can be twice a week. Even it can be just a quick touch one-on-one on a daily basis if you wish. Again, it depends on your situation. And the last tip, focus on what team members have accomplished, as I mentioned. Make sure you check, when you check on them, make it as much as possible interactive. So you might, share the screen, show them some slides, share some information with them, some spreadsheets if you want. So they will be on board in terms of what's going on. So this is the kind of communication that they absolutely value at this time. And, remember all this, it is influencing these negative feelings. They might be feeling anxiety, they might be feeling, anxious about the situation, worry, fear. So speaking of emotions, this is where our role as leaders just to do that. So therefore, during that interactive one-on-one, it's all about, we say, we want to communicate with them non-verbally. We want to engage them non-verbally. So I have this question for you, please, and I'm just going to give you 1 minute. I appreciate if you reflect your answer quickly on the chat box. How do you create non-verbal engagement during your one-on-ones? What have you been doing? Just share that, please, with the rest of the group in the chat box. I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute. Use video. I'm reading these remarks for everyone to see. Thank you so much for all those who are contributing. Use video, yes. Smile, for sure. Skype polling can be Skype or other medium polling can be useful. Nodding, weekly meeting, wrapping up, eye contact. Yeah, eye contact again. Empathizing with them. There's a lot of repetition in some words. The smile, the video, sharing screen gives safe feeling. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Lead by example. Not looking at phone. Thank you so much. That's an important one. Using camera. Praise. Thank you so much. Again, so generous in your engagement and in your remarks. I appreciate it. But this is where really these tips might help us. It might help us as leaders when it comes to remote workers, basically during the situation. The second thing would be, speaking of emotions, please just keep remembering that change is an emotion, and all of us, we face change differently. And therefore, it's not a to-do list. It's not that, we're facing this dramatic change and therefore we start to become efficient and we agree on a to-do list and we agree with the team, let's start executing. So emotions, they're feelings, they're different from one person to the other. This is where, as a leader, what we always say, be the guide for your team, help them to navigate their emotions through the right medium. We listen empathically, offer assistance when needed, ask in-depth questions if possible, and etc., etc., etc. I'm sure you're all experts when it comes to that, but this is one key insight, how we as leaders can assist and can help our teams to face such change. And again, hopefully after this crisis will pass, we'll look back and we start again highlighting the positives and the learning lessons out of this situation. It will help us really going forward into the rest of the year. The second part in our agenda today, it's about paradigms. How, as leaders, how are we seeing things, and through the eyes of our teams? This is something very important. And I want to give you also 1 minute in the chat box. How are we seeing things as a team? What's your perspective? Again, working with your remote workers, working with your teams, facing this situation. How are we seeing things as a team, not as individuals? Again, I'm going to give you 1 minute in the chat box. Just again, share some answers, your experiences with the rest of the group. It got us closer to each other. Yeah, absolutely. we're missing the personal interaction. Absolutely, nothing will compensate working, face to face and to interact with them. Celebrating achievements together for one person or as a team. Correct. Thank you so much. Everyone is hypersensitive and can get the wrong idea. Exactly. That's why these one-on-ones, we make sure to go maybe past these hypersensitivity areas. More productive, empathy is absolutely key. Thinking strategically, diversity, and how we can capitalize on it. Thank you so much again. You're so generous with your experiences and with your answers, which is absolutely great, and that's my expectations. Yeah, so therefore, our paradigms, and let me just highlight a little bit of, for those of you who might heard this word for the first time, paradigms, the way we look at it, what we say is, it's the way we look at the world, the way we see, the way we understand, the way we interpret the world around us. It's like, it's like we have these all mental maps in our brain, and our brain follows these maps all the time. So therefore, we are interpreting these maps. And the thing about paradigms are so powerful in our lives. Sometimes we might have incomplete paradigm, and sometimes we might have the wrong paradigm. In other words, we are interpreting the map not in the right way. So therefore, the way we see the world, the way we interpret things, it will influence our behavior with each other. And therefore, when we behave in a certain way, we get a certain result. Let me share with you this short video, just introducing paradigms. It's a self-explanatory. It's one of our signature videos about this topic. And those of you, we will be sharing again the whole webcast later on. You will be able to watch the video again and again, and maybe you can share it with your teams. So let's watch the video, and then I'll share more about paradigms after that.
فترة معينة يعني so much of what we do in our personal lives
and the odds to resolve a paradigm field. All right, thank you so much. Apologies if videos always playing videos on online sometimes might it creates some technical stuff. Please make sure just to copy that link in the chat box. It will take you directly to this video on YouTube. As I said, it's self-explanatory. It will give you an idea about paradigms, and you can capitalize the learning from it. Apologies for that again. Now back to the slides. This is what we're saying. Our mindsets, the way we see things. This is basically the way we look at things, the way we see things. It will influence directly how we behave. And these behaviors, we might practice them for till the end of our time. And when we do things in a certain way, we get a certain result. Now, this is where what we're saying, paradigms, this is how we interpret these things. So back in this situation, the way we look at this situation as a team, it will have a huge influence on how we behave as a team, therefore the result that we are all responsible for it. Now, the toolkit that we will be sharing with you after this webinar, I just want to highlight this. This is one tool that can be excellent to engage your teams. And it has a step-by-step direction, what you need to do. It's all around how they feel, get into their paradigms, make sure that we have, the complete picture. Again, it will influence the behavior. The result will be influenced as well. So I will be highlighting these tools. This is the first tool related to paradigms that, again, you have step by step. You can run it with your team remotely or face-to-face later on. Feel free, but it will help you to focus and to pass the learning around this paradigm concept to your team utilizing this toolkit. So the key insight here, how your team sees the current situation will have a huge impact on their behavior and therefore the result. This is, again, the see, do, get. This is the paradigm. This is what this toolkit, this tool this one can help us as leaders really influence that and to turn it into an engaging experience with them and to get them on board, and therefore the result will be impacted. Now, by doing this, this will take us to part 3, which is influence. What we're saying, what can we control and what can't we control as a team? And in this way, I'm sure some of you have seen or got exposed to this, especially those of you who attended some of our previous webinars. This is where we say the stimulus and the response. We don't want to be on the reactive mode. Stimulus will happen. Therefore, we think about it. We don't think about it. We don't rationalize it. We react to it. So therefore, in the middle, all what we get, the outcome will be is crash, clash, miscommunication, lack of engagement, no commitment whatsoever, because we are on that reactive mode. And I'm sure that, a lot of us went through that, the kind of, again, all the feelings, the panic, the anxiety that that was caused by this situation in the beginning of it. And what we're saying, again, back to the behavior, when we react, we allow everything outside our control, really. Some examples like moods, feelings, circumstances, everything. It's like these circumstances will take control rather than we take control. So what we're suggesting, or one of the best practices is, it's all about we want to make sure not to react, and we want to make sure that we have this space where we have that freedom to choose in the middle. So therefore, when a stimulus happens, there is absolutely, this is where I rationalize, I have this space. We create that space between the stimulus and the response, and therefore, we will be responding to the situation rather than reacting to it. And again, the best practice when people are proactive, we pause, and when we pause, absolutely we are almost forcing our executive brain to come to the situation. We think about things, we rationalize, we make decisions, we communicate with the team around us, and therefore our response will be much better. It will influence the outcome, and it will be part of that winning culture that we talked about earlier. And what we're saying, so that's the paradigm. This is how we see things. This is how we behave. We start responding and proacting rather than reacting, because our paradigms are both revealed and shaped by the words we use. How do we know? How do you know if someone is reacting or responding? It's what we say. It's always around if you hear to the language they use. The language they use, the words they use, it reveals a little bit in terms of what's the paradigm behind it. And these two circles, again, familiar to some of you maybe, what we're saying, as a leader, this is where the circle of influence, that small circle in the middle, these are things we care about, things we talk about most of the time. And again, think of the situation at hand. And therefore, however, we have 100% control over. So it can be, again, communicating with our teams. It can be those one-on-ones that we do all the time with them. It can be simply to communicate with them on an emotional level, to provide them with the tools, the process, the procedures they might need, to assure them all this. So where you utilize your time and energy, how we utilize it as a leader, this is within our circle of influence. The kind of decisions, the rational decisions we make. Therefore, the circle of concern, that bigger circle, these are things maybe we care about, we talk about, but however, we don't control. An example of that would be, how many cases we have within the country today, when this pandemic will finish. When do you think this crisis will end? When business will go back to normal as usual? Yes, we can start preparing ourselves for these times, but these are circumstances, these are decisions we don't control at all. But it's not, so what we're saying as leaders, you want to make sure to focus your team on how we can utilize our time today, rather than to worry and to overwhelm them with everything else, and to be prepared for the unknown, and therefore you will find that the time is not utilized properly. So these two circles are crucial. And what are the key elements of the current situation that we believe are within our circle of influence? This is the question that I'd like to have some perspective from you. Again, let me repeat the question again. What are the key elements of the current situation that we believe are within our circle of influence? In other words, what have you been doing with your teams that you believe it was or it is within your circle of control, circle of influence? Again, I'm going to give you 1 minute for some reflections in the chat box. Team motivation and mindset, working online, yes. Completing daily duty at work. Daily stand-ups to check in on them, that's a good idea. Compassion, empathy, thank you so much. Learn from the situation, absolutely, that's crucial. Reviewing process and enhancing system, yes, taking care of our health, great. I will be talking about it in a bit as well. Rearrange our business, correct. Set daily plans. Fantastic. As always, so generous with your answers, and more are coming. So this is one major point as well. So what we're saying is how we are engaging our remote workers, what the paradigms, how we as a team are looking at the situation. Therefore, we need to make sure that we have the complete picture, therefore the behavior and the result almost. The third one is focus time and energy of the team around top priorities. So what we're saying, make sure that they are engaged with the right tasks, the right projects, the right things every week, rather for them to be busy with everything. This is where the power of focus, and this is where these two circles might help us heavily in this. Therefore, again, what we're saying during difficult times, this is the key insight here, where you focus your energy and the language you use has a profound impact on your team's influence. As I said in the beginning, we as leaders, the way our behavior, the language we use, it will influence the kind of culture that we will be having with our teams. And that winning culture, as we said in the beginning, we influence it heavily. So our behavior and the language is key. And hopefully these key insights will help us really to focus or to reflect on the team in the most positive way. Also in the toolkit, you have this exercise that you can do with your team. It's a detailed step-by-step that, again, it will help you to engage with them around this concept of the circle of influence, circle of concern. It's a nice way for you to understand them in a better way, to get closer to them, to get their feedback as well throughout the situation. I'm just highlighting this slide here, but you'll have it as a step-by-step in the toolkit as well. Yeah, now all this will require energy, and I'm sure you agree with me. So to do all that, it will require energy. So therefore, it's all about asking this question all the time. How can we keep our energy levels high to be able to face the situation, not to react, to respond, to always keep focusing on, the big picture and the right picture, to have the complete paradigm. And again, to communicate with our team members, to aid them, to provide them with the guidance and assistance they have. And therefore, this all requires, high levels of energy. So where are we getting that? And therefore, these are the 5 energy drivers that what we're saying. It's all about making sure that we are moving. And, if I am to share move, it's all about, be active a little bit. A lot of us are being, proactive and taking the initiative of doing things at home, outside our home. If you have a backyard, if you have a park nearby you, especially now we can go out, just keep moving. Same thing, what we're saying, your behavior will influence your team. So this is one of the points that I can share with my team during these one-on-ones in terms of, let me share with you, this is what I'm doing. This is, I'm running up the stairs a couple of times a day. I am, doing HIIT, any kind of exercise you are. When you share it with them, this is where you communicate, and, you communicate with them emotionally. Eating, I don't need to talk about this. It's all about, again, watching our eating habits. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality of our food. Sleeping, getting enough rest, especially working from home all the time. I know this might be a challenge, but stick to a routine. Try as much as possible. A routine, we need our 6 or 7 hours of sleep every night at night. So therefore, trying as much as possible to establish a routine around it. Relaxing, it's all about, our stress management, someone to talk to. And again, in this case, you will be that person that you are proactively reaching out for your team and providing them with that kind of a trusted leader that they can talk to, reflect, share their emotions, share their feelings, share their challenges as well. So therefore, this is one area that we can, it's a huge a driver for energy. And finally, it's about the connect with everyone around you. And I think we are doing that in the most amazing way. So these are 5 drivers. They are a circle. So therefore, it's not about taking care of one driver on the expense of the other. As much as possible, we need to try to balance these drivers to take care of ourselves in these 5 drivers. Then once we do that, I promise you, you will find yourself, you have not just high level of energy, it's absolutely the highest level of energy, and it is sustainable, and everyone around you will feel it, especially your team, especially when you engage them online. They will feel this high level of energy. And that's why what we're saying, focusing on energy driver, it's a must-have, not a nice to have. And the best way to do that is you being the role model for the people around you. So again, as the leader, be the role model and share what you are doing to maintain high level of energy with your teams. Listen to their input as well. Share it with your family members. If you have family members with you at home, share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, share it with everyone. That's why it will become the outcome, the impact on everything around you. It will become the result, and therefore it is something absolutely, it will contribute to that winning culture that I talked about in the beginning. So as a summary of this webinar, remote working, these tips for the one-on-ones, the paradigm, get them on board. We have a complete paradigm, how we are seeing the situation and how is it impacting our behavior as a team. Make sure to focus the team on things they can control, maybe few things. However, they will be our highest priorities as an organization. And finally, to be able to do that, we need to have that high level of energy that absolutely it will help us to continue doing all this. And this is why it will have the biggest impact on how you keep your team engaged. They will be motivated, even working remotely or later on after we cross this crisis. Absolutely, you'll find yourself also, these are the foundational principles almost for engagement and motivation to everyone around you. Those of you who have, again, if you are curious, if you think this is something you want that we can help you and assist you with, please reach out for your client partner, anyone from our team. We will be more than happy, more than willing to help you and assist you in our extensive experience with these things, the online learning to any learning journey. We will be more than happy to do that for you, and you're not alone. Frank and Covey, we will be your partner in this. Please reach out for our team members, and we can take it from there. At this time, these are the main points that I prepared. So I'd like to ask if you have any questions. We have still a few minutes to do that. Please just write your question in the chat box, and I'll try as much as possible to provide an answer for you. And again, just reminding everyone, you will be receiving the recording from this webinar today. You will be receiving the toolkit that I explained the main components of it. Use it with your teams. And again, reach out with anyone from our team if you have anything else we can help you with. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I'm seeing all the thank yous. Thank you so much. Ramadan Kareem. Hopefully next time this year, everything, we have a story to tell what happened last Ramadan. What would be the best check-in agenda to assure teams focus? I would say, keep it short and ask them, involve them in terms of what might be, especially if this is a regular meeting, weekly meeting, just check with them what might be some items to be, to be put on the agenda to be discussed, so you can prepare and they can prepare. All right. Okay, guys, thank you so much. If I can ask you for something, please, before you leave, you leave this meeting, we value your feedback tremendously, absolutely, in the most amazing way. If you don't mind, if you can scan this barcode with your phone's camera, you will find the link. It will open the link to our webcast, to our website. Please, your feedback is very valuable to us. So not all the questions are valid, but please, if you can share with us how do you evaluate today's webinar, any other topics you would like us to help you with. It will help us really to connect with you and to communicate anything and to learn for future webinars and future webcasts. Thank you so much in advance for those of you who will give us the feedback. I'll leave the barcode on the screen for a few minutes. And there is a special request to see me, and here I am. Here are you. It's been a pleasure to be talking to all of you. And as I said, I'll be leaving this barcode for your evaluation and your feedback. Thank you so much in advance for that. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us in this webinar today. And God's blessing, Ramadan Kareem, and hopefully we'll see most of you in our next round. The team will be communicating to all of you the topic. And be safe, you and yours, and have an amazing rest of the day. Thank you so much.